Small talk, huh? Everyone hates it. You think it's awkward. Even just talking about the phrase small talk feels cringy, but it's so necessary. It's just something that happens all the time in a relational context. So if we're just going to say that it's awkward all the time, then there's this culture around it that small talk is awkward and everyone hates it and it's not good. And then no one actually cares to do it well. But I think there's actually a way to do small talk really well. And if we understood the purpose around small talk, then we can get to big talk much better, because hopefully that's what everyone wants. If people are like, oh, small talk stinks, then what do you want? Big talk? Deep talk? Then we can get there, because the point of small talk is just to bridge the gap of familiarity so that you can make a connection with someone else. The whole point of small talk is to make a connection. It's not to have easily flowing conversation or like not awkward time. It's to make a connection. That's the goal of small talk. So we're going to talk through how to get there in just a few simple steps and some practicals of what to notice as you're engaged in small talk, what to do, hopefully make it less awkward and be able to connect with other people to get to big talk. So this is our method. We're going to talk through like 6 or 7 practical steps. And the first one is engaged curiosity. Sort of the disposition beforehand, even before any of the actual talking happens, of I am engaged intentionally with this person very observantly and curiously. And this probably comes across in 2 ways, external posture and internal posture. External posture being kind of like body language. How do I get across to the other person that I am intentionally engaged and curious? This is stuff like you're smiling. You're making a lot of eye contact with another person. You're not like looking around at other things, checking the time. You're like this person should know this is the most important thing going on right now. This is the only thing. I'm intentionally engaged with this person. I'm giving a lot of kind of nonverbal feedback, some nods, even a sort of like a slight head turn as someone's talking, and just like your facial expressions make a lot of difference. Also, just some amount of comfortability too, like a smiling and a warmth, and not being a close talker, like at an appropriate distance. Body language is huge, and external posture, but also the internal posture and how I go into small talk would be like, I want to get to know you. And again, this is the one thing that's going on right now. I'm engaged and I'm authentically curious. Like I actually want to get to know you. That's my disposition. And also we're going to go into this being super observant of the other person. I think this is huge to effective small talk. And some of the other things we're going to talk about is I am really paying attention to sort of like the way you respond to things, some of your body language and posture, the words that you say, because that reveals things about you, and I'm trying to get to know you so that we can make a connection. So first is engaged curiosity, external posture and body language, and internal posture. The second part of this was maybe a small part of it, but I think is really huge, is the name. Like getting another person's name and them knowing your name is huge to be able to connect with people. Like I know, to be honest, I work as a campus minister, and there are certain college students who like I gotta learn a lot of names and I forget some of their names. And in all honesty, I am more hesitant to engage with the college students whose names I don't remember, because it's like I'm the campus minister, I'm supposed to know their name, aren't I? And you probably have this experience. I have this experience being in a social setting where I much more readily go up to the people whose names that I can remember. And if I don't remember their name, it's like, I can't go talk to them. I'm supposed to know their name, aren't I? Because names breed familiarity and connection. It's just like a personal thing. Like we know each other's names. There are some connections formed over names. So easy ways to make sure, because again, remembering names is maybe one of the hardest things when you are meeting a new person. So maybe easy thing at the beginning is you ask for their name. Say, hi, my name is blank, whatever, it's your name. And then say it back. Say the name back to them. Like, your name is, John. Nice to meet you, John. Pleasure. And then when you ask the follow-up question, include their name again. So like, oh, John, nice to meet you. What do you do for work, John? You just said their name like 2 or 3 times. So hopefully the more you say it, the more it's in your head. And you don't gotta like every single question be like, so John, oh John, that's great, John. John, I love the way you said that, John. Like that's just, you're just getting a little weird. But every so often, to remind yourself. And if you forget, because this happens, like I'll get like halfway through a conversation and be like, had their name for a minute, and now I don't. This is a freebie for if you're stuck in small talk, just to be like, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, totally forgot your name. I just have in my mind some insert random name. I know that's not your name. You just give it to me one more time. That gives you a little buffer time to come up with another question. And it gives you maybe a conversation starter of like, here's a stupid name that I thought of. Oh, so like, what? We'll get into questions and stuff later, but it's okay if you forget, and you get like one freebie in conversation to ask again what their name is. But it's huge to remember their name. Also, just think of the other person, that they'll feel more connected to you if they know your name. So remind them of what your name, like slip it into conversation. Maybe speak in third person when you're telling a story. Like, so this was happening, and I was like, you know what, Zach, you gotta do this or this. That's helpful because then they'll remember your name, and then you can form more of a connection. Okay, now we get to the meat of the small talk, which is the prompt, number 3. So after we've had this initial conversation, we have some kind of initiating question or observation. There's kind of 2 methods how to use for the prompt here. First one is open questions. Maybe you've heard of closed questions, open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are more like room to expand versus a closed question, like a yes or no kind of thing. But I say open questions because I also have sort of like an acronym you can think of. This is maybe helpful to think of. If you're just scrambling for questions, you can think of the word open as this acronym, OPEN, for occupation, people, enjoyments, and news. Occupation, people, enjoyments, news. Occupation, things like work or school, things that take up your time. So ask questions like, if you don't know someone, say, so what do you do for work? What do you do for school? What are you studying? Or if it's someone you know, you say, how's work? How's school? Something like that. People, things like friends or family. So if you don't know someone, you say, so tell me about your family. Who do you hang out with? Who do you know? Or if it's someone you know, you say, hey, how's Jim? How's your pal? How's your mom? How's your brothers? Whatever. Ask them about the people. Or enjoyments, things like interests, hobbies, etc. So you can ask like, so what do you like to do? What would you do on a free weekend or whatever? Or you say, how was your weekend? How was the thing? Hopefully looking for you spent some time doing enjoyment. I know you like this thing. How was it when you did this thing? How's your I don't know, your pottery hobby going lately? Something like that. And lastly, news, which could be personal news or external, local or global news. Like personally, what's new? What's new for you? Which is super open-ended and often is kind of a lame question, but there's room to work with that one. Or it can be like, have you heard about local news? What are your thoughts on this thing that's going on right now? So open questions, OPEN, occupation, people, enjoyments, news. The second method with this would be what I call active observation, which is basically like taking assessment of what's going on in the environment context that you're in generally, or the person that's in front of you, and just making an observation about the thing that you're engaged in. So again, it could be general about your environment. It could be something like, this is what people do on like weather. Talk about the weather, like, oh man, it's raining like crazy today, huh? Or you're at an event or something, like, well, didn't quite know what I was showing up here for. Interesting Saturday activity. The difference here is that you're just making an observation. You're not asking a direct question. Something like, so what do you think of the weather? Because the difference between that is you're asking them to explain or justify. There's a little more pressure. Versus you're just tossing a ball up of like, man, raining today, huh? And they can choose to either catch the ball and throw it back, or swat the ball to the side and say, we're not talking about the weather. Or again, for like, it's interesting Saturday activity, huh? Versus, so why are you here? Explain that and justify that to me. Just like tossing the ball up, like interesting Saturday activity, huh? Or this could be very personal. It could be something like, this would probably be like you're with someone and you talk about like, I don't know, their clothes, their appearance, their maybe some accessory that they have on them, or some activity that you're engaged in, something that you observe about them, the way that they act. So this could be, I don't know, clothing. Like you see a guy walk up in baggy shirt, baggy shorts. You're like, bro, your outfit's giving me Adam Sandler hooping vibes right now. Or, I don't know, you're on a college campus, you see someone walking by and they're just loaded up with textbooks. And you're like, I'm going to guess you got a busy day of classes, huh? It's just an observation. Instead of like, hey, where are you going? What classes do you have today? Or what's up with your outfit? They have to like justify or explain. You just make observation. Toss a ball, see if they'll respond. And up to this point, you're probably thinking like, okay, yeah, done all that before and small talk is still awkward. So how do we actually facilitate connection? These next few points are the essentials. And the fourth one is emotional bids. And this is huge. Emotional bids are basically like any actions, like verbals or nonverbals, action, words, body language that individuals will use to try to connect or to try to gain the attention of another person. It's sort of some expression of an internal reality or emotion. Again, this often comes through words, actions, body language, stuff like that. But this is what we're trying to pay attention to. Again, we're being super observant as we're having a conversation with someone because we need to pinpoint emotions. Because if we can notice someone's emotional bids, then we can validate and respond and engage in the emotional bid. This is huge. This is in just any relationship, like romantic relationship, friendship, emotional bids happen all the time. And the way that we respond to emotional bids is how we facilitate connection in any relationship. So noticing emotional bids, just any kind of words, actions, body language that expresses some sort of emotion is what we're trying to notice. So underneath their words, underneath the like little sigh that they made or the way that they responded to that question or statement that you made, what does that say about how they're feeling? Do they like that thing? Are they opposed to that thing? Are they tired? Are they anxious? Are they angry? Or they have clearly a lot of opinions about the thing that you just said? Are they looking to engage with a certain thing? Are they really excited about this other thing? That's what we're trying to notice. We're trying to catch their emotions, the emotional bid that sometimes is just like super overt. Like you're having a conversation with someone and they go, oh, I love this or this. Or it's like, oh my gosh, I hate that. Don't ask me about that. That's very clear. But sometimes it's very subtle. And it's just like a small, little subtle say like, yeah, I kind of like that. Or yeah, it's all right. Or just like a little like small body language action thing. That's what we're trying to catch. Trying to make an observation of that so that then we can, number 5, validation. Number 5, validate emotional bids. This is huge for continuing the conversation. And there's a few ways that we can respond to an emotional bid, sort of 3 ways that most popularly psychologists and communication specialists talk about this. You can either turn towards an emotional bid, turn away from an emotional bid, or turn against an emotional bid. An example of this would be, very clearly, your, boyfriend, girlfriend, one of them comes home, you ask, so how was your day? And they go, well, it was all right. There's an emotional bid there for sure, and how we're going to acknowledge and validate that could differ. One option would be you respond like, all right, bet. Did you stop at the store and pick up the soap that I asked for? Which is just turning away from the emotional bid. It's not even acknowledging it and just changing the conversation topic altogether. Not helpful, not validating. Another option would be say, yeah, it was all right. And you respond like, man, you're always just kind of bummed. What's going on with that? That's turning against the emotional bid. It's like totally dismissing it and sort of like hostilely or sarcastically just like dismissing the emotion at all, invalidating the emotion, which is like not good at all. The proper way to validate an emotional bid is to turn towards the emotional bid. They say, I guess it was all right. And for you to say, sounds like maybe it wasn't. You want to talk about it more? What went down today? Acknowledging, validating, like based on your response, it sounds like blank. Based on your response, I'm sensing in you blank. just like acknowledging, validating the emotional bid. Here's another example from a conversation that I just had this morning before I'm recording this video. So I was having a conversation with a person and asked the question, we're having small talk, asked the question, so what's on your work schedule today? And they said something along the lines of, it's a big like admin day, doing some like fun payroll stuff. And I just sarcastically responded with, right, super fun admin stuff. And what maybe I should have acknowledged, the word fun expresses some amount of emotion, and the person said it like sort of genuinely, like fun payroll stuff. But instead I responded sort of sarcastically, and the other person's response was, I actually kind of like the numbers and the background operation stuff like that. And my response was like, good for you. And I changed the subject. So my way of responding to the emotional bids were actually turning away and turning against. I never turned towards emotional bid. Should have acknowledged, noticed. The person said, fun. It literally said, I actually like the kind of numbers and background stuff. So to be able to notice something the person enjoys, it's something sort of unique, and to be able to say, oh, it's awesome. Definitely not everyone likes the like business, admin, logistical stuff of part of work. So good for you. To acknowledge the actual emotional bid that's in play. Because from there, what we can do once we can sense the emotional bid, catch the emotional bid, validate it properly, we can then dig in. And this is where we can ask the follow-up question, to follow up and go deeper into the emotional bid. And this is a follow-up question that often just looks like something along the lines of, tell me more. To just go deeper into that. Based on, like, I just validated this, you confirmed, now tell me more. This could look something like, why something, or how did you something, or what about that blank blank something. But we're just trying to dig in deeper. Like, we're able to acknowledge the emotional bid, validate it, and go in deeper. So, I don't know. You see the guy who's wearing baggy shirt, baggy shorts. He's like, bro, that outfit's giving me Adam Sandler hooping vibes. And he says something like, bro, I would love to hoop with Adam Sandler. It's like, okay, he's talking about basketball. We're talking about Adam Sandler. There's so many ways to go here because he responded positively. He's like, bro, you like to hoop? Validate. You like to hoop? Dig in deeper. When did you start hooping? How long have you been playing basketball? We can start talking about his history playing basketball. And we can just go in on something that he enjoys on the emotional bid. And we can go from there. So we acknowledge, notice the emotional bid. We validate the emotional bid. And then we dig in to whatever might come from there with a tell me more question. It could be just the question. The follow-up question is, tell me more. Tell me more about that, bro. Oh, you this and this? Tell me more. Tell me more about that. Could be that simple. And ultimately, once we get there, probably at some point, that subject matter comes to a close and there's nothing more to talk about it. So what do? Repeat. Go back to the top. Come up with another prompt, an open question or an active observation. Notice, catch the emotional bid, validate it, and dig in with a deeper question. You can do that, rinse and repeat, for a long time. You can keep up a small talk conversation for a long time, just doing that over and over. And hopefully, in the process of that, catching the emotional bids, validating them, and digging in, you form connection. Connection comes to take place. And ultimately, that's the goal. So mission accomplished of small talk. And again, small talk often is just the context of like, you got a brief conversation. So the last thing is, how do you end small talk? How do you wrap it up in an appropriate way that doesn't like just dismiss everything that just happened and ruin the connection? What I would suggest is to give a yellow light. Because hopefully what we're doing in small talk is it's all green lights. Like, we're having a great conversation. To end, you're going to have to get to a red light. But it never goes just green light to red light. That's too abrupt. So to be able to give a yellow light, like the conversation is coming to an end, but we still have a little bit of time, is helpful for you to just wrap up the small talk in a positive way and to maintain the connection. So often this goes something like, I've got to go, blank, blank, do whatever in a minute, but ask one more question. say one more thing, one more little wrap up part of your conversation. So you give them a sense of, I got to go in a minute, but. So by giving the yellow light, you can give a sense of, we're going to wrap up the conversation, but there's still a little bit of time to form this last connection, and then we're going to go. And there's no awkwardness to the end of the conversation, because I've already prefaced that the conversation is coming to a close and you can go your separate ways. This yellow light moment is often a great opportunity to make some kind of follow-up invitation. Like if you are having a conversation where you are meeting someone for the first time and you say, this is a great conversation, we'd love to engage in further conversation, or I'd love to invite you to this other thing that we have going on, then this is a great opportunity. You say, hey, I gotta go in a minute, but are you interested in like this or this? Do you like to go play sand volleyball? Oh, we're going to play, a group of us going to play sand volleyball in 2 nights on Wednesday night. You want to come play sand volleyball with us? Awesome. Get your contact info. I'll reach out to you again. We'll keep up this conversation. It's a great opportunity for that. It's a healthy way, I think, to wrap up the conversation. And hopefully, if you use this, you just kind of repeat through that cycle, notice the emotional bids, validate them, dig in with a follow-up question to just talk about like, notice how they're feeling, notice what they enjoy or don't enjoy. You can form some kind of connection there. To give a little bit of your 2 cents in there as well, as we're talking about, because again, they are trying to connect with you and not you just trying to connect with them. It's mutual connection. So within the context of like, as they're talking about the things that they enjoy or don't enjoy, you can throw in a little bit of like validating what their experience is, how they feel. Also, here's my experience as well. Hopefully they ask you some follow-up questions too. If they don't, take the initiative all day and you be the one, because now you have the tools to make small talk not awkward, but effective and hopefully enjoyable to get to big talk, hopefully, and form connection with the people that you're engaged with.